Does anyone else remember when Disney was like, good?
Now, you could argue that they're somewhat back on track with all of this, and it appears people really like it, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that classic Disney that everyone fell in love with. The stories that touched at our hearts and then ended up touching almost too much of our heart, and then just ripped them to shreds. But anyway, those stories are timeless and can never be recaptured. That's just a fact.
But in case you wanted to for some reason challenge that fact and further prove its point, well, Disney did that for you.
But today, I don't want to focus on whatever those are. I don't want to focus on the monopoly that is Disney.
And I definitely don't want to focus on this.
Ray Skywalker.
Today, I want to go back to Disney's roots and focus on when they just made movies that changed lives.
Back when it was for the better. And what better movie to look at than a little overlooked masterpiece titled Meet the Robinsons.
It's true, when this movie released back in 2007, the world was finally at peace. The economy skyrocketed, people rejoiced, and studies show that this may actually be the cure for COVID. Directed by Stephen John Anderson and written by a lot of people. Meet the Robinsons is a captivating Disney animated film, which takes about the same mental capacity to understand as Inception and Tenet combined. Along with a nothing too special Rotten Tomatoes score, the film barely made a profit, which is a real shame, as this level of creativity and maturity deserves way more. But perhaps it was just the marketing that didn't do it justice, which kinda makes sense. From the outside, it just looks like your average kiddie wacky movie.
But, oh no, get ready.
School is in session.
And today, Mr. Bean is going to show you the true masterwork that is Meet the Robinsons.
So we start this seemingly wacky average kids movie with an incredibly emotional and mature scene.
Seriously, who was in charge of marketing this movie?
But anyway, we see a mother leave her son off at an orphanage.
Here we go with this trope again.
Of course, he's gonna get abused at the orphanage by a mean old lady that doesn't even care about him.
Go show them how special you are.
Oh.
You know, it's so refreshing to see in media people actually caring for the kids in these types of places.
But anyway, we immediately see my favorite character in the movie, Goo, who is also a complete mood and just keeps spitting straight facts.
Come on, let's play some baseball, okay? Not the lazy game.
And then also, we see Lewis, who is the baby in the beginning. He's an aspiring inventor and shows off his new invention to try and get adopted. Even though, are we sure they aren't his real parents? He shows off his invention, which supposedly makes the perfect PB&J. Although, it immediately starts malfunctioning, leading to easily the most contrived thing in the movie. The wife just doesn't stop Lewis, even though...
Mr. Harrington has a peanut allergy.
Probably would have led with that.
Also, I literally have a peanut allergy myself, and little known fact, that peanut butter causing him to go into anaphylaxis that quickly is actually the most unrealistic thing in the movie, which is saying a lot. But, okay, this is just nitpicking at this point.
And if that little bit is the most contrived thing, then we have a true masterpiece on our hands.
So obviously, they turn him down, and Lewis sulks up on the roof. He's been through 124 family interviews, and feels like his own mother doesn't even want him. Wow. This is actually a really deep and mature concept.
I wonder how long he'll hold that grudge on his mother before he finally accepts that she simply couldn't take care of him.
About 5 more seconds.
You're right.
Congrats?
Yeah, okay, this is my last nitpick. I really think it would have been way more effective if he held that grudge on his mother for the whole movie. I mean, they bring up potential for a perfect character arc in the first 7 minutes of the movie, and then drop it within the first 7 minutes of the movie.
But we have insanely interesting ideas to get to, so I'll let it slide.
We get a montage of him studying more to build the perfect invention so he can find his mom. Although, it's not just a montage of the hero, but of the villain too. And this movie sets up the villain's motivations in the most clever, efficient, and subtle way I've ever seen, while also spitting some more facts.
Easy win. Those guys are a bunch of bums.
Anyway, he goes off to the science fair to show off his invention, and we see a very colorful cast of characters. Among those include this energetic scientist who really should be dead by this point.
It's my invention. Each patch is the equivalent of 12 cups of coffee.
The ripped version of the reporter from Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs, and this dude who is actually the voice of SpongeBob, weirdly enough. We also see another amazing character, Wilbur. He claims to be a part of the Time Continuum Task Force, and is looking for Bowler Hat Guy.
Really? That's the best name you could come up with?
And then we see Waluigi? Oh, his name is actually credited as Bowler Hat Guy. Anyway, so Waluigi is looking for Lewis.
And when I tell you that Waluigi is one of the best Disney-owned villains, I'm not kidding.
Psh, yeah, step aside, Scar, Sid, and Thanos. Waluigi could take all of you guys on.
In fact, Waluigi is the 7th Infinity Stone.
His bowler hat messes with the invention, causing Lewis to ultimately fail and give up, which perfectly ties in with the movie's message. He comes across Wilbur again, who passes off a tanning salon coupon as his ID, which, like, what? Seriously, the majority of this movie's humor is just coming up with the most random thing, which is why it's so hilarious.
And probably why Gen Z's humor is so messed up.
They land on a time machine and go back to the future. It really does a good job of making this feel like a living, breathing world, with some creative inventions that don't have to be explained. It just seems like part of their daily lives, which greatly helps with world building. And I'm telling you, these kids just keep spitting more straight facts.
Well, I was born in the past, which makes me older and the boss of you.
The time machine breaks as Wilbur promises to bring Lewis back to when his mother gave him up if he fixes it. Back in present day, we see probably one of my favorite scenes, led by Waluigi himself.
Yes, I am.
You're Mary Johnson.
Yes.
He goes on Shark Tank and tries to pass off Lewis's invention as his own. Although, after defying the laws of physics, he gets thrown out
Watch out.
and wants to find Lewis himself.
This movie's rated G.
After meeting Discount C-3PO, the other one, Lewis finally, meets the Robinsons. And it's really just a 5-minute sequence showing how interesting the family is. And I love it. It ranges from Gen Z random jokes
Also didn't think there was a woodchuck living on my arm, and whoop, looky there.
to the most sophisticated jokes only for the high IQ.
Why's your dog wearing glasses?
Oh, because his insurance won't pay for contacts.
And in case you need a rundown of all that, the movie gives us one in an interrogation scene with about the same quality writing as this one, just in a completely different way.
Nick and Dimitri are twins, and I don't know who they're related to.
Neither do we.
Along with, I don't even know how to describe these jokes at this point. It's just funny.
What does Cornelius look like?
Tom Selleck.
Okay, Cornelius is married to Franny.
Although, after that fast-paced scene, we get easily the most emotional scene of the movie. Of course, dealing with the one and only Waluigi.
I fell asleep in the 9th inning, and I missed the winning catch. Then I got beat up.
This scene does a perfect job at showing his fractured mindset, as he tries to defy the movie's message of letting things go and keep moving forward. And even if the twist of who Waluigi actually is somewhat obvious, it's not really a big focus. I'm glad that they don't base the whole movie off of this twist, because if they really tried to hide it, we wouldn't get emotionally wrecking scenes like this. And I'm also glad that Disney just doesn't do twist villains for no reason at all.
Anyway,
They also go back to the future, and we just keep hearing the movie's message as Lewis tries to fix his time machine but ultimately fails.
Keep moving forward.
And yeah, usually I would get kind of annoyed about how they just keep on telling us the message instead of showing it, but it's such an integral part of the movie and even ties into a Walt Disney quote that I don't care. Besides, at least they don't literally spell it out for us, you gotta be kidding me. So we see a Robinson's family dinner, including an anime scene reference with flying meatballs and spicy Italian sausage.
I mean, at this point, why not? You know, let's just go all in.
In fact, why even stop there? How about we just turn this whole family into a Full House parody, spend a day with the Teletubbies, bring back the Verminator, and even go back in time to Jurassic Park this movie, you gotta be kidding me. So Waluigi goes back in time to Jurassic Park this movie, and we get some solid action showing out the family's strengths, along with, again, literally just do whatever at this point. And also, god dang it, Disney. That license plate almost made up for how you completely wasted Finn's character.
Almost.
Shut up! Shut up!
The whole family rejoices, as the Robinsons offer to adopt Lewis because he doesn't have a family. Although Wilbur knows that would only mess everything up, so he breaks his cover and shows his true hairstyle. They then pull a 180 and tell him that he has to go. And in the process, Wilbur confesses that he lied about taking Lewis back to see his mom. It's really just one big mess of a situation, but it's all believable and not trying to be forced melodrama to have a reason to separate the characters. Lewis runs off feeling completely alone, although he is not in the slightest, and comes across Waluigi, who vows to take him to see his mom if he comes with him. It's honestly a perfect setup for a scene, and in a way, kind of scary, as they portray Waluigi in the scene as some sort of devil character who manipulates people with their deepest desires. Which is almost hilarious in of itself, because up to this point, he's kind of just been a bumbling idiot. A very entertaining one at that. But don't worry, we go back to his usual hilarious self.
We had a deal.
Crossies doesn't count.
I mean, to be fair, you can't argue with that logic.
Of course, Lewis goes with him, as he fixes the machine, while Luigi makes him realize that he actually is Wilbur's dad, which was just mind-blowing to me as a kid. Seriously, this movie was the inception of my childhood, and that's just like one of 7 twists. He also reveals to be Goob, through another really emotional flashback. Again, all the stuff with Goob just always gets me. Although, somehow, this movie finds a way to also make me laugh at the same time.
Hey, Goop, what's up? Cool binder. Hey, Goop, wanna come over to my house today?
They all hated me.
Seriously, that's like the biggest flex in writing. The ability to make someone laugh and cry in such a short amount of time.
And of all movies, somehow Meet the Robinsons was the one to do it so flawlessly.
And then, while we're still on flawless writing, here is how Lewis responds to it.
You just focus on the bad stuff.
And this perfectly ties in with the movie's message, especially in those scenes where Lewis's inventions keep on failing. And even though it sounds somewhat generic, it's actually so mature and important for a G-rated film to present this to kids. The fact that failure is okay. And also, I think I can boil it down to something even more applicable to real life, in that just because it wasn't a good day, doesn't mean that good things didn't happen.
What happened to Disney?
Waluigi takes credit for Lewis's invention, causing the whole future to be messed up and under his control. And can someone please tell me how Meet the Robinsons time travel makes more sense than Endgame's? Although, as it turns out, it wasn't Waluigi who was the mastermind, but the bowler hat. Which, there's so many twists in this movie that it kinda gets pushed to the side. The bowler hat turns into General Grievous,
General Kenobi.
as the future turns back to normal when Lewis vows to never invent it. He meets his future self until we get easily the most mature and honestly just beautiful scene in the movie. Wilbur follows through with his promise and takes Lewis back to see his mom. He's about to get her attention, but then he doesn't. He's willing to sacrifice ever truly meeting his real mom in order to keep the future intact. And it's a scene completely devoid of dialogue. Just one character deciding what is truly important in life. Seriously, did these people see the same movie? But anyway, Lewis goes back to the science fair, but not before helping Goob and getting him the winning catch. And in another twist that just completely blew me away as a kid, some of the people at his science fair are actually his future family. It all ties up so well. And in case you want an even more perfect ending, we get an amazing 2000s ending song, titled Little Wonders. That just hit me right in the feels. Seriously, I have no idea why this hit me so hard, but when I saw Goob actually getting a family, and I'm not even kidding, I literally started tearing up, ultimately ending on the Walt Disney quote which the whole movie revolved around.
You know, I was kind of joking in the beginning, or over-exaggerating, just a bit, when I said like, oh, this is like a masterpiece that'll bring world peace or whatever. This is no joke. This movie was genuinely beautiful.
I honestly am at a loss of words. This was one of the best movie experiences I've had in a while. This is just the definition of feel good, but not in like an overly cheap, hallmarky type way, but just genuinely something I think everyone should watch, especially if you're caught in a rough patch in life. Because the message of this movie isn't just trying to get you to bottle up your emotions and keep moving forward either way, but acknowledge those emotions so it's easier to move forward. And it gives us a perfect parallel at what can happen if you don't acknowledge those emotions, which is exactly what Waluigi was. And in terms of the animation for 2007, it's alright. It does keep a nice, fast-paced vibe, but it's nothing too groundbreaking. Although, that's not what you're watching the movie for. You're watching it for the brilliant writing and message, along with some very memorable characters like Wilbur, Waluigi, and of course, the legend Goob. So, have you ever knocked down and trapped in a negative mental state? Then Meet the Robinsons would be perfect to pick you back up.
And maybe Disney will actually go back to these groundbreaking stories once they learn that it's not all about the money. I can't even finish that.